We're not through yet.
7 days a week.
You'll be amazed at what my Auric XL, even at 8.5 pounds, picked up. Call now.
Call us now.
Call us now. Call now, and I'll also send you my Auric compact vacuum absolutely free.
Have your credit card ready.
Hey, hello. Hey, can you hear me? Hey, can you hear me? Hello? Hey.
Welcome to Emerging Tech Mastery, a show that demystifies cutting-edge technology like cryptocurrency, the blockchain, metaverse, NFTs, virtual reality, the maker movement, artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud, edge, and even fog computing. Strap in as we ride into the fourth industrial revolution. Emerging Tech Mastery provides actionable knowledge, regardless of skill level, from experts in the trenches. We piece together this intel in easy-to-consume media formats, processes, and procedures. See you in the future.
So for this episode, I wanted to do something a little different. It's a solo episode, just going to be me. And what I really wanted to do was explore a timeline of crypto for me. And I'll explore other timelines of different tech sets that I've been involved in. So I wanted to talk about around the time I discovered crypto, which is about 2013, 2012. I went to my first Triangle Bitcoin Meetup. They were being held at a Panera Bread in Brier Creek in Raleigh, North Carolina, and it was so much fun. We just boondocked the Panera, and I think most people got at least something, but definitely not the majority. So I remember being in a Panera for like 3 to 5, 6 hours plus, having a great time talking to people, having always a really fun, deep discussion. And, it has really not changed. I can tell you that much. The only difference is maybe I'm a little less ignorant now than then. So I really enjoy reflecting on it because it was a time of optimism and curiosity and learning from others. And, it kind of shows why community is so important. And that's something I definitely want to do an episode on. I'll probably bring my buddy Mike on, who's with Vegas Crypto Group and doing a lot of other community building. I'm really sharing my experience with community. I mean, community is such an important initial step in and sort of access point, let's just say. And so it's not necessarily like, oh, it's really profitable or like, you're getting paid 6 figures. It's really something you do almost like a voluntary, like public good kind of thing. So I definitely found myself getting involved in the Triangle Bitcoin Meetup, and then we ended up expanding the meetup to a nearby startup space called Durham Underground, which was in Durham, North Carolina, and they were super enthusiastic to have us host our meetups there. So I feel like, there was a little bit of a contribution that I made to that group by basically introducing that startup space who my roommates at the time were working at in different startups. And so it was really cool to participate, in that time. 2013, 14 was kind of my beginning, and just wanted to go over really quick the crypto space, like what was the state of the space. And I'm going to go through basically 3 different timelines, 2013, 14, then 2017 to 19, and then 2020 to 2023. And I'll get to each one. Each one has its own flavor, vibe, trend, theme, I guess, if you will, cultural theme, and players and faces, influencers, right, as they'd be called now. And so, yeah, we'll get there. But yeah, so that first wave was kind of like if the tail end of like super early Bitcoin adopters, which were typically like people that got in around 2009, 2010, 2011. That's a really crazy time because you were literally right there at the beginning, which is such an interesting time. Almost if you weren't there, right, you came later, you didn't know. And so, I'm going to take a moment to kind of remember that time. Much more sort of like libertarian cypherpunks were kind of more had the mic, they were the people that were driving the conversations, doing the things, you didn't have like Monero and like those communities that are super passionate on, they're kind of, I think, carrying the torch in many ways with sort of the cypherpunk original vibe that I felt back then. So, it was kind of all like that. There was no mainstream. It wasn't mainstream, right? It was still kind of like, yeah, a bunch of dudes in a Panera, right? And maybe some girls too in there every once in a while. So the vibe and culture was kind of like, we'll say OGs, like Andreas Antonopoulos. And I remember just countless sort of the cypherpunk crowd. When I say cypherpunks, I mean the original sort of hacker activist that tackled this, or let's just say brought us this tech, right, in the first place. And so they had the mic, they were kind of more in the conversation. It wasn't as it's changed now, which I'll get to. So, well, let's just say it was kind of more seminal. It was beginning, a lot of things in tech, as I've learned, are not necessarily like the big thing, but they're like a small, incredibly important thing, right? So I think those formative years, it's kind of like me with the startup, like it was a small thing I did, but like hugely formative. It kind of directed that group, and like now I don't even live over there anymore. So it really like felt like it was a time of like getting direction, wind in the sail. Oh, Pamela Morgan was another person with Andreas Antonopoulos, a really cool lady that was doing sort of like estate planning with crypto, which was definitely forward thinking for that time to already be thinking about how you could share your access to your assets. And I thought that was a really cool approach. In fact, I'm going to probably have to reach out to her. But let's go to, so that's kind of my libertarian early cypherpunk kind of recollection. Smaller community, smaller time, smaller universe, very cool. The discussion was basically only Bitcoin, kind of more like possibilities and the people, I just feel like everyone I met at that time, I felt like was really cool. And again, not that you keep in touch with everybody, but it was kind of like a really cool time and a very important time, Frank. I suppose somewhat early, right? I kind of bailed, maybe not bailed, but I sort of like, I would kind of dip in and out of this space, at least in the earlier times. So let's say, 2015, kind of uneventful for me. 16 was a little bit eventful. It was kind of the foreshadowing of like this next phase I'm going to talk about. We did go to Miami and we did a podcast, our first podcast in Miami in 2016 at the North American Bitcoin Conference, which is a trip. That was a while ago. And we just kind of did a pilot. And again, there was a couple years that kind of happened between then of quiet. So like I said, it was kind of that dip in and out phase. Anyway, 2017 was kind of like, oh man, this was amazing. This was a great idea. This was incredible. Like 2017, you had just that amazing bull run where Bitcoin went from whatever it was in the thousands to like 20K. That was the first time it hit, I believe, 20K. And that was mind-blowing. And altcoins had the most insane run probably ever. I mean, there's certain coins that just we'll never see that again, with at least those coins. But yeah, I remember having some amazing experiences observing just how crazy the market was. So we'll say like 2017 was kind of like maybe still pretty early and a different set of players. It kind of felt like everyone was maybe a little more exposed. Like it felt like people were not as quiet, right? Like all the big players are putting out press releases, oh, IBM's working with this crypto and, this partnership's happening. It was kind of like that narrative, like hype train article time, not to mention, the macro market, not to get out of the scope here of talking tech. The macro market was so different back then. Now, we've seen the bigger markets kind of fall, interest rates going up, things I don't really want to get too into on this discussion. But, that was a different time. My gosh, pre-COVID, right? We didn't even know what we had, right? So I can reflect like, man, it was kind of like the good times of crypto, frankly. Everyone was really excited. Everyone was happy about their investments. Everyone thinks everything's so great. and brilliant and the future of finance. And it was actually a great time to be involved, a great time to go to conferences, a great time to be involved in projects. So I kind of remember that time actually pretty fondly. And then we'll get to this next phase, which, I'm starting to realize is a little bit darker and wintry and mean, frankly, but let's finish up this middle chapter, we'll say. Yeah, it just felt like it was more open in the sense that everyone was putting out their press release about what they're doing, like big names. And now it kind of feels like, the market's gone down, the macro's not as good, we're coming off this big pandemic. So, there is a recovery vibe going on. Like, we got hit in the kneecaps on so many levels, right? And including the markets. So crypto, let's, I guess, get into phase 3, right? So we went from OGs, libertarian, curious, to, oh my God, like, this is worth something, this is working, future of finance, we're all geniuses, we're the greatest, smartest people of all time, everyone else is literally a peasant that knows nothing. I mean, geez, the ego, right? We've all been there. So now you have this 2023, I'm calling it the influencer stage. It's kind of that dark, oh my God, the hangover is kicking in, the drunk and high has worn off, and you are left with maybe some horrible decisions if you bought the top or you bought a really high price. So, the whole vibe has changed. All those libertarian cypherpunks, even the big name companies are nowhere to be found in this third phase. We have literally people pretty much super cranky and pissed off and frankly very toxic. So crypto's really not a whole lot of fun right now in that sense. But if you do know about what's really going on behind the scenes, like some of the things I'm hoping to share with everybody, it's actually incredible time of growth. While it's quiet, while it looks really ugly on the outside, it's actually awesome. So don't feel like I'm saying crypto's over. I mean, I'm literally hearing that from people I know. Oh, it's over. It was a great run. On the one hand, it's a little sad to hear people say that. On the other hand, it kind of shows how these narratives are built and formed, and it's not a guarantee that times are going to kind of keep being how they were or are, right? So I think it was a little bit of a sobering, as I'm reflecting on this, and I'm probably going to close out here in a second, I really just realize how impermanent life and things are. And we always joke about the shrimp index, which is kind of a way to say they're serving really good food at the conferences right now. The shrimp index is up, right? And I kind of have some recollections of events I've been to where the shrimp index was really high. Like literally they were serving high-end seafood at some of these events. So there's a rebuilding aspect, but I think sort of like everyone's coming off the pandemic feeling really like, let's get back out there, let's put our names out there. And I am starting to feel maybe that just the beginning of that 2013 vibe, maybe a tiny bit. But, again, it's a whole new context, right? We're in a whole new world. I think everyone's a little bit less naive about how crazy things can get, with the pandemic and all the behavior of everything and everyone and we've seen out there. So, not to get too off track, but hope you enjoyed my phases. We'll say OG, cypherpunk, libertarian phase 1. We'll say big players, bull run, hype train, phase 2. And then we'll say hangover, right? Phase 3, hangover, but things are still building, just to keep it optimistic as well. But yeah, I think that's good. We're keeping this under 15 minutes. I'm stoked. And thank you so much for listening. And I will be back with another timeline. Thank you for listening, and we will see you in the future.
my magical calculator banknotes.